So my mom was moving down here from Northern California, and she had just come out of a pretty difficult situation where she had to short sale her home and then make the trip down here, and we had to find a house with a garage big enough to hold all of her stuff, and also find a house that was within her budget, which was suddenly much smaller than we anticipated. This also meant that we had to look for a house in some parts of San Diego that I wasn't entirely familiar with. So I called Carlos and I begged him to rescue us and find my mom the perfect house. One that was in a good neighborhood, was big enough for all of her treasures, and one where I would feel safe with her being in and we didn't have to do too much to fix it up. So I called Carlos because I knew he could juggle both of our personalities. Unfortunately, he wasn't going to just have one client. He was going to have my mom, who had very high expectations, and then he was also going to have to deal with me looking out for my mom and asking all the tough questions. So it was really amazing because I guess if you're looking for the guy in the flowered shirt to drive you around, Carlos is not that guy. I mean, we had just cherry-picked a few great properties. I think we only went on 3 kind of treasure hunts to find the house. And interestingly enough, we found a house that we loved and put an offer in. It was great to work with Carlos in the respect, like, he gets back to you right away. So he had the offer written that night. We had a response the next morning. He was following up with the listing agent. And then we found another house that we liked better. And I guess instead of being the agent who was like, well, we already have time and invested in the other property, he said, great, no problem, what do you want me to do? I mean, he was absolutely, totally there for us as his clients, and whatever we wanted, he was going to make happen. So throughout the process, it got interesting because there was a really, really short close. I think it was like 14 or 21 days. And we had so many questions, and we just kept going back and forth with the listing agent. Like, well, Carlos, can you go back and ask him about, the gardeners, or the rose garden, or the sink, or the warranty on the furnace, or whatever it was. And, he just has that joyful kind of personality that keeps coming back and saying, sure, no problem, no problem. And then we kept trying to drive the price down a little bit. I really appreciated that Carlos shares my point of view that when you're buying a house, you want to get that price as close to zero as possible. And he stood right behind that and made it happen. I mean, we got the perfect house for my mom. It was in a neighborhood that I feel really safe that she's in. Already had a security system on it. It was big enough for all of her treasures. And we got it for the right price. I mean, I'm still amazed at the value of the property. And he ran all the comps. I mean, he really helped us see that it made sense to buy this house. So for that, I'm very appreciative. And the best thing is that my mom still talks about him, like, oh, how is Carlos? How's he doing? Does he have a girlfriend? I mean, he's really great at establishing a personal relationship with you, even though it is one of the most important business decisions that you end up making as an individual or a family. And for that, I'm really appreciative. And also, when you're driving around with Carlos looking at houses, it's fun. He keeps it fun. It's nice to drive and kind of go on these tours of San Diego trying to find your dream house with someone who doesn't let you get too bogged down in the details and keeps it interesting, and I appreciate that. So what happened after the house? There were some issues that came up after the sale of the house, and it was nothing that we could have anticipated. And I think the great thing was that Carlos and the entire team behind him were still available. There's an issue with the furnace that it might have needed to be replaced, but was it on a contingency? And literally within 24 hours of asking the question, we had a response, and we had a response from someone senior at Prudential as well, which was really, really helpful in trying to resolve the issue. So, and it did get resolved, and no complaints here. So I think when I refer a friend or a family member, I need to be able to stand behind that referral, and I have never hesitated to refer Carlos. I don't ever think that he's going to show up late or be unprofessional, and I don't think it matters whether you're listing or you're buying. I mean, his job is to make you happy, and he absolutely does that. I mean, he got, whether you're listing the house and you want to get as, every dollar out of it that you possibly can and have a smooth sale, or you're buying. I haven't had anybody come back and, say, oh, have any I guess, negative things to say. They only have really great things to say, that, you know, he made it happen for him. And buying a house is a stressful transaction, and it's just nice to be able to work with someone who keeps it easy and looks out for you, because sometimes there are things you don't see coming. So I'm very appreciative. Thank you, Carlos.